Hello and welcome to a constructed video on an MTG Arena. Today I'm playing one of the more underrepresented tribes on the Magic Arena client at the moment, and that is Elves. I had a moment where I realized, okay, they just printed a new lord in the form of Elvish Clancaller, but are there really enough elves to make an Elves deck in Standard? And then I remembered that we had other Elves payoffs, like Marwyn the Nurturer, and we just also have a bunch of individually good elves, like Thorn Lieutenant, Steelleaf Champion, and Llanowar Elves being obvious. Surprisingly, Narnam Renegade, this card's been awesome. So, about the deck, this is a green-black version. I've played a couple other color combinations, but this is the one I like the best. The Elves core, I would call it, is Llanowar Elves to make a lot of mana, Narnam Renegade, which makes blocking easy. This card's really good against the red decks, like Beaumont Courier and Soulscar Mage both can't attack into it. Thorn Lieutenant is a mana sink, good against control decks that want to target it, and fantastic against red. They have basically no way to deal with this card without giving you a token, and basically all their creatures can't attack into it. Clancaller, a lord plus a mana sink, just excellent. Marwyn the Nurturer, who both gets really huge and makes a lot of mana. This card is just really fun to play with and is also pretty powerful. Rishkar, not any particular elf synergies, but just a powerful rate, and he's an elf, so that's all great. Steelleaf Champion, again, no elf synergies, but it's huge, and it is an elf, so it benefits from things like Clancaller, so that's great. And surprisingly, Vivien Reid. I was kind of just trying this out of curiosity, and it keeps impressing me. The minus has a lot of hits against control decks. You have, like, enchantments that were exiling your things. A lot of people are playing the dragon deck, and this can blow up Dragon's Horde, or hit creatures with flying. You can hit a Heart of Kiran as an artifact, or it can kill dragons. So, generally a pretty awesome card. And so then on to the reason we're green-black. I'm going to be playing a quick constructed today, so the sideboard doesn't matter, but Duress and Fatal Push are both excellent cards out of the sideboard, so black is good for that reason. In the main deck, the only black card is Winding Constrictor, which this card is really sweet. The synergy we've known since day one is Winding Constrictor into Rishkar, gives you multiple very big creatures. Then there are a couple other synergies. Narnam Renegade is really hard to trigger on your turn, but sometimes it happens, and that's really cool to make it a 3/4. Marwyn the Nurturer is insane. If you can start playing Elves with a Winding Constrictor out, she gets so big, so fast. And then Walking Ballista, who is both fantastic with the Winding Constrictor, but also is great in a deck with things like Marwyn the Nurturer, where sometimes you have the ability to make 15 mana and you don't really know what to do with it. You have an outlet in Walking Ballista. So I think this version of the deck is the best I've come up with so far, and I'll go ahead and hop into a quick constructed league. Alright, getting into it against PhD, the Doctor. Going first, it's a little clouded on 2-drops, but it's got a lot of our good cards, so I will keep it. See what our opponent plays. So my experience so far is that this deck beats mono red pretty easily and has game against control, but that matchup's harder. And then one of the other popular decks right now, is the mono green Stompy deck, just ramping out Galta. That matchup is basically unwinnable. It has destroyed me every time I've tried. I hope that's not what our opponent's doing. I hope they're doing something else. Yeah, like, we just don't have any way to deal with this. We are probably dead. They can just very easily make a bunch of unkillable threats. We're sort of doing the same thing, but they go much, much bigger. Like, Steelleaf Champion is bad enough, but if they just play a Galta, there's nothing we can ever do about a 12/12. I did actually beat a Galta once, because, yeah, and like this card, and they put, the armor on it. I'll keep playing for a bit, but I think this game is pretty over. Yeah, I managed to get a fast start with Marwyn the Nurturer and making lots of mana, and I actually powered out all 4 of my Elvish Clancallers, and then I was able to just beat them on the board. But They play a Gulta, I'll just go ahead and concede. Do I trade here? If they have a pump, I'm just going to lose the game anyway, that's fine. I think I do. The problem is that Thorn Lieutenant threatening to block and pump is one of my best answers for Steel Leaf Champion. But if they have a pump, I lose to that line anyway, and I can't afford to take 10. Yeah, I'm just super dead. Let's go ahead and move on. Alright, we're getting into match 2. I have been demoted to silver. This distresses me greatly. Going first. And we're not hitting our ideal draws here, but this is fine. This card can slow things down, and just multiple Steel Leaf Champions is always great. This card is ridiculous. Opponent going to 6. Okay. 1 top, 0 bottom. Oh, I should actually play my card. You just want to play out their Renegades. You're not likely to trigger Revolt. It's very difficult. Unless you can trade in combat, and the rest of my hand obviously doesn't do that. The one exception is that I will often hold these if I have a Marwyn in hand, because you want to be able to pump her. Okay, this is actually interesting. So their card attacks like a 2-drop, effectively even more than that, because it hits me for 2 and they gain 1, so it's a 3-point life swing. Pretty good. But it can't attack into my Narnam Renegade, so I'm not going to trade 1 damage for effectively 3. What this is probably for is it's meant to... They might be playing like a super low to the ground, play all the dudes aggro deck. More likely, I think this is meant to crew vehicles, because it still does that one. Oh no, they're just trying to make a big Ajani's Pridemate. Well, I'm glad I have a Narnam Renegade. Go ahead and play the big boy. Opponent is playing Black-White Life Gain. Narnam Renegade going to be very good. Hopefully Steel Leaf Champion is just big enough. I do need to pressure and close out this game, though. My opponent could beat me by just making one of these an 8-8, and then there isn't a whole lot I can do from there. Luckily, this cannot block my champion, which is sweet. Makes this into a 3-3, that's fine. Go ahead and block here. If they have some sort of trick, I'm fine with them 2-for-1ing themselves on my Renegade. Yeah, I figured they were just trying to make this into a 3-3. Fatal Push, that was the other option. Maybe I'm supposed to play around that. I don't really think so. I think this was they were going to get Revolt eventually. Even if it was just the next turn I attack in, maybe they trade there. I don't know. Overall, I think we're fine. Gonna need to draw something else. We have not drawn an on-land yet this game. Oh boy. Vivien Reid would be awesome here. Do I get this off the table? I don't think so. I think this threatening here to block here is fine. This draws a card? Yeah. Opponent basically out of gas, unfortunately so are we, and this is apparently not getting better. So, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have Rishkar put a counter on himself and on Steel Leaf Champion. That way, the Steel Leaf can attack through this turn, which is nice, and Rishkar can then threaten to trade with the Gifted Aetherborn if they decide to make that attack again. Unfortunately, this card is basically going to get infinitely big, and so if my opponent ever draws removal from my Narnam Renegade, I'm in a lot of trouble, and this is the last turn I get to attack with this card. So we really need to draw something. The Elvish Clancaller would be excellent. Vivien Reid would be excellent. That Walking Ballista would be really, really good. And it's possible I'm supposed to, oh boy, that's irritating. It's possible this deck is supposed to be constructed differently than it is. I don't have any hard removal in the main deck. I don't have... This is a really weird attack. Don't give up your guy. What? Okay. Alright, now my board is just much, much better than my opponent's. They might have another Fatal Push. They were trying to trigger Revolt for my champion. In which case their board's a little better than mine. Possibility. People don't read this card. They just don't realize that it has Death Touch. It's kind of amazing how often it happens. Head. Their Aetherborn can't block. And then this is... I mentioned how I wanted to draw this card. This is the position you want to be, because either I'm drawing things that are good to do, or I just keep activating this. And, like, playing a Lord every turn for the rest of the game is not bad. Especially because I think that'll make the difference in the clock, maybe? Not sure. The math gets complicated when they're gaining 1 and possibly 2 more every turn. And this does... Do I play that? I don't know. One has 2 cards in hand. Sure, I will play this and just attack with everyone. No real reason to play it pre-combat, but don't think it's going to matter. It's possible I should be on the lookout for removal, and I should have just snapped off activating this while I had the chance. Because if this dies, I can't go get the second one. But if I grab a second one, I am insulated from that because they have to kill both. Yeah. So, yeah, I think this was a mistake. I should have just grabbed one of these as soon as I could. Now it's going to take a while to close out this game. Okay. Opponent, I'm not sure what they have in hand. Maybe just more removal. Essence Extractions, not very good against Steel Leaf. Opponent in the tank. If they're... They probably should attack, because it gets damage in on and only prevents 2 by holding back. So this is like a bigger life swing. There's some debate here whether I hold this or if I play it and let it die just as an extra counter on this one. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. And keep the original, get my counter. The interesting thing to think about there is I had 6, 7, 8 mana available, and so getting the 9th doesn't do anything for, say, a Walking Ballista, but in this deck, the numbers can come down in all sorts of weird ways, because I attack with this to get an extra counter on here. No, I'm not going to. Oh, but yeah, the numbers can break down in all sorts of weird ways because of Vivien Reid. So, if I play her for 5 and then plus and find a Walking Ballista, I can play it for 2 because I have access for 9 mana. Things like that. Okay, we got one. Whee! The deck is not a complete failure. Alright, getting into match 3. So on the note about the deck, I should say, I don't think this deck is hyper-competitive. Like, it's not going to be tier 1, but it is better than I expected. And so that makes me want to keep tinkering with it, because maybe something is good in there. Yeah, this hand is fine. Because a lot of cards have overperformed for me. This card is super good against red decks, and that really impressed me. But also, Marwyn the Nurturer was better than I expected. Maybe it's because it's been a long time since we had Elvish Archdruid in Standard. But just like the fact that 1-mana elves, but also Elvish Clancaller are free with Marwyn, you play them and she gets bigger and they replace themselves on mana, is just really cool. Okay, opponent mold really low, but we don't have the most aggressive hand, so we'll see how this goes. That is really good with this. I just noticed that the Thorn Lieutenant makes elf warriors. That's really interesting because usually they try to keep tokens to having one creature type. Like usually this would just make elves. The exception, see, this is why this card is so good. They had the removal, they killed it, and I still got something out of it. Oh, but I wonder if these are supposed to be Lorwyn elves, maybe? Just because Lorwyn was obsessed with race and class creature types. Well, that card's really annoying. Makes me not want to play out my Marwyn. Going to not want to play this out either. So I guess I'm just going to slow roll this and play with the Lieutenant. The other option is to just play the Ballista, but I think I can do that next turn, and then they only trade with the Ballista. They don't get to eat my Elf Warrior for free too. We'll see. Thorn Lieutenant, unlike everything else in my hand, plays very well against Walking Ballista. Yesterday I was playing a game, and like I'm attacking with it, and it's threatening to do a lot of damage with its ultimate, and they had to give me four Elf Warriors, because their only way to kill it was the Walking Ballista, so they ping it 3 times, I activate, and then they ping it again. It was pretty funny. You'd also be surprised at how often activating this comes up. One of the struggles of an elf deck is that you flood out, and so sometimes you've got a Marwyn who's a 4/4 and nothing else to do. Okay, yeah. I figured that's about how that game would go. It's hard to have a real game after they mulled a 4. Alright, match 4. I don't know how much I'll play with this deck. I'll give it a little while longer. A lot of these games have been a little suspect. This hand, we haven't had any of our really great hands yet, but that's fine. Like, seeing average draws from a deck is just as relevant as seeing how it does at its absolute best. And I like this hand because these cards are great, and we're going to power out a Vivien Reid, who is also awesome. Especially if our opponent's playing blue, getting a couple creatures in under the counters, and then threatening a Planeswalker who will generate a lot of advantage is really cool. Yeah, so this is great. I'm going to hope that they don't have main deck Sweltering Suns. That would be basically impossible to beat. But I'm going to go ahead and play into it because just holding a Clancaller isn't going to help me against that anyway. I guess I could hold a Lieutenant? Yeah, they are not interested. So, I talked about how that wasn't a nut draw, and it kind of turned into one. So, that's pretty sweet. Top decking your Lord is really good. Alright. Match 5, I think? Yeah. It's hard to keep track when they go by so fast, but I suppose I opted into this when I played the Quick Constructed queue. It's funny because I think if I'm playing Quick Constructed and I were... this hand is fine. We've got a couple mana sinks, and we're going to ramp up, and we've got our colors. It needs help. It's possible this is a mulligan just because it doesn't do enough by itself. Ooh, if I could draw a Thorn Lieutenant, that would be great. That is also great. Oh, but if I were just trying to maximize value in the Quick Constructed queue, I think I would actually play the green-white version of this deck, because one of the most appealing parts about black is the really good sideboard cards, like Duress. Okay, opponent not necessarily playing a super red deck. Like maybe like a Mardu Vehicles, something like that. Okay. Oh, that was an excellent draw. So now we can play the snake. Hopefully make them regret burning that Abrade unless they have more. Then next turn we can get the Foul Lurcher down and either play this... If they kill the snake, then I'll probably just play the Clancaller and play this on 2 on turn 4. Yep. Okay. Because I would like to be able to kill the Beaumont Courier without burning my Walking Ballista. So... the weakness of Elvish Clancaller being put on display. This is not Lord of Atlantis. It is very bad without other elves. Okay, they hit their 3rd land. That's not great for us. Okay, so this is like red-black aggro. They just had an awkward... Yeah, they had a really awkward draw. Okay, that's a little weird. I am going to go ahead and just kill this immediately on my next turn. I can't let them draw 4 cards. There's no way I come back in that game. They didn't attack. They didn't even want to risk trading. Wow. So this is a 2-2, which would be kind of nice, but as I said, I really can't let them just cash in this Beaumont Courier. Then next turn I can like get this Elves down plus pump this, and then we're looking at starting to pump multiple times soon, or getting more Elvish Clancallers, and if we don't die quickly, like they don't play like Land Hazaret here, I think we're gonna be okay. Could use some more help. Would always be happy to draw Steel Leaf Champions on this board, but... Yep, go ahead and take some damage, that's fine. I've got a lot of life to work with for the moment. We just need to use our life total as a resource and build up an unbeatable board. Okay, Scrounger's fine. That card is a little more annoying. Okay, flooding out pretty badly. As I mentioned, that's a thing that happens. Again, I'm going to kill this immediately. I just don't want them to have any cards. I want them completely out of resources. What I'm probably going to do here is look to trade here. Like, it's not a great trade because they can rebuy it, but I do need to start doing something. Like, I can't really take 7 here. It's not... And that's game. Yeah, that was a really good last card. Oh boy. That's the struggle of playing elves right now, and it's something I knew I was opting into. The red decks aren't as popular on Magic Arena as they probably should be, given how good they are, but Goblin Chain Whirler is devastating. The deck is basically incapable of beating that card. But, oh well. Alright, on to what could be the last game. An awkward note about the matchup versus red decks. I mentioned that the matchup is very good, and I still think that is true, but it goes south really fast. This hand is pretty sweet. It goes south very fast if they play Goblin Chain Whirler, and even then there's some sort of internal tension there, because if I have a Steel Leaf champion, then I am totally fine against Goblin Chain Whirler. I don't care about a 3/3 first strike, but if they have... Okay, this matchup can go either way. Like, sometimes they get down a quick ballista and just start machine gunning your guys, and then you're in a lot of trouble. Sometimes you get to do that to them, so... I was going to play the Clancaller, but I'm going to go ahead and get my snake down. I can... Even if they have a ballista, they probably won't kill both my elves. And then I can go ahead and get my ballista down and start shooting their stuff. Oh, that is very mean. Anyone who doesn't know, Winding Constrictor doubles all counters, so this will put 3 neg1 counters on any creature I have. So that's sad. Okay. This is awesome. Ballista doesn't really do anything here, but Marwyn will. Oh, I should have played the Clancaller. That was a mistake. It's okay. They're not going to be on enough mana to kill Marwyn yet anyway, so. Next turn, unless they have something really good here, we get to start going nuts. That's really good. This card's such a jerk. I missed Marwyn already. Okay, going in my turn. If I hit my land drop, I get to activate this twice, and that's probably game over. We'll see, though. They could activate their Ifnir here. See what they choose to do. That is very bad. I'm going to go ahead and burn this to get rid of a Winding Constrictor. Yeah, and this opponent had just enough removal, because if they have an all-removal hand, it doesn't match up that well. A lot of our creatures are individually not very important. But because they had just a Ravenous Chupacabra exactly the turn after we played Marwyn, they are probably going to win. Do I have a good trade? I don't think I do. I think I'm going to take some damage here, and I'm just going to start making Clancallers. I can't quite Winding Constrictor plus Clancaller. That's unfortunate. Just go ahead and activate this now. There's some argument for waiting. I think we're pretty dead. This was very, very good. We even could have beaten a single... Yeah, we're just super dead. Alright. That was a disappointing way for it to go, but I think that also just shows how this deck goes. We absolutely smashed a few people and got completely obliterated when we lined up poorly against what the opponent had.